What is going on, everybody? We're here. We're live for the Wednesday political stream that is still unnamed. But you know we're going to be here. We got some good stuff to talk about. Shockingly, yet another Joe Biden house has been raided by the FBI. I don't know how many houses this guy has. I'm not quite sure, but the FBI is probably going to get to all of them eventually. Of course, it's a little different. A lot of a lot of communication between Biden and the FBI. Hey, just so you know, we're going to head over there. We're going to take a couple look at things, do this. A little different than the Mar-a-Lago raid, but I'm sure we'll get into that. Jeremy, how you doing?
Doing good. Yeah, it sounds like Biden has more houses than Trump at this point. For the past month, it seems like Joe Biden's had like 8 houses raided. But it really is nice for the FBI to kind of give that courtesy call in advance, just kind of hint, wink, wink. Really nice of them. It's interesting how that never happened with Mar-a-Lago. But yeah, let's get this party started. Happy to be back on the Untitled Political Show, and there's some interesting stories for sure.
That's right. And Suresh, what's up, man? How you doing?
Oh man, it's been a crazy time coming back from Las Vegas SHOT Show. I had a great time out there, and of course, there's always the backlog of work and putting out fires and everything else going on, but been able to keep going on. I'll be I got some more travel planned ahead that you guys know about, and then when I return from that, I am making the pilgrimage to the new Geeks and Gamers Casa, which I cannot wait for. That's going to be epic. I may show up with a full-blown vlogging crew behind me just to document the shenanigans.
That's what's up right there.
That'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
That will be awesome. So yeah, Geeks and Gamers headquarters is it's up and running. We've still got some stuff to finalize, with getting everything worked out here, but it's exciting times for sure. We had a banger main event last night. That was a hell of a show, and we're really excited. And we got Fortnite tonight on the main channel for the first time. So I guess the second time technically, but a lot of changes to our schedule, but all meant for, to maximize all of our opportunities here.
Yep. And we might as well start this thing off hot. Let me hit these couple super chats that came in real quick. Then we'll get into Joe Biden, another FBI raid. Salty Source Rex for $20. Isn't it weird? We're forced to assimilate and accept LGBT, green energy, and diversity, but we can't have people come here and learn to speak English or assimilate to old American values like God, family, or being patriotic. I don't know if I would say weird. I think it's all calculated. Salty Source Rex. That's what I feel. But thank you very much for the $20. Miss Martin Muses for 99 cents. A little rose. Thank you, Miss Martin Muses. Good to see you. And then Robert Wiles for 2. Be blessed, everyone. I'm 43 now. Yes. Happy birthday, Robert.
Happy birthday, Robert.
That's awesome. Another year older. But let's get into this story here. Share my screen right off the bat. It seems like every day that goes by, there's another story about Joe Biden and some classified material. After, shaking his head and wagging his finger towards Donald Trump when they raided Mar-a-Lago and found, heaven forbid, some classified documents there. A former president who has the authority to declassify or classify things happen to have some material that at one time may have been classified. Joe Biden lectured Donald Trump. That's unacceptable. How could you do that? As it turns out, this guy has classified material everywhere. In his office, in his house, in his garage, next to Hunter Biden's crack pipes. That's where Joe Biden stores his classified material. And here was the news we got this morning.
Mika, that's absolutely right. According to 3 sources familiar with this matter, FBI agents, as we speak, are searching President Biden's Rehoboth Beach home for classified documents. This comes, of course, after there have been a discovery of a number of batches of documents at his think tank here in Washington and also at his home in Wilmington, Delaware.
So yet again, the FBI is going to search. Now, Biden's lawyers have already searched this. Of course, they searched his home very thoroughly. So I'm sure they covered up the worst of everything that was there already. Yet the FBI is going to go through. We'll see if they find anything here. But now we're looking at the office. We're looking at his home in Delaware. We're looking at his beach home in Delaware. And it's just an embarrassment for the Biden administration, the entire way they've dealt with it, especially because the more time that we see, the more things that come out. I don't know why this Fox News article isn't loading. But when we see now that they searched this back in November, right before the midterms, and then even right after the midterms, they knew everything about this and they kept quiet. They weren't transparent. In fact, they tried to do their best to cover this up, and now it's all blown up in their faces.
Oh, I mean, like, I firmly believe at this point in time that they are there's an effort to push Biden out. They don't want him running in 2024. Why would they? The man, again, we can talk about how he was in the previous run for president. What did we play? That we played a clip from 2019 last week, and it was painful how much he has deteriorated just in the last few years. He's not fit to run. Now, neither is Kamala, and I'm sure we'll talk about her astronaut story here before the show is over. But I think that they're pushing Biden out. I don't think they want him to run. I don't think they have confidence, regardless if it's Trump or DeSantis. Those two guys are massively popular, and I think the Democratic Party knows it. I think that you're just pushing him out.
So, by saying they're pushing, are you alleging that Democrats planted classified documents at Joe Biden's office, house, and house?
No, I'm saying that everyone knows that former presidents are going to have some classified documents, period. That's just obvious. And now look at how widespread the mainstream media reporting is on it. They didn't talk about Hunter Biden for God knows how long. They didn't talk about any story that was going to hurt Joe Biden for so long. Now this is a widespread story. And now they're reporting apparently the FBI raided him a while back, that now we're being told about that. Like, it's clear that they're pushing Biden out, and it makes sense because he's not fit to be president and he's not fit to run for president again.
Yeah, it at this point in the beginning, it was kind of questionable, but now it's pretty much clear that this is all positioning to push him out and to justify him not running for a second term, which at this point, I don't know if there's a single Democrat that is going to support a second term from him. They realize his unpopularity. They also realize the unpopularity of Kamala Harris, which, listen, it's funny that the party who allegedly is all about diversity and inclusion, there hasn't been a peep about pushing her to be the next president. You would think that they would be holding her up on a pedestal and making it so that, hey, there's no question who we are going to support and put forth as our candidate for the next president. Funny how that she's not even on the radar. There hasn't been any discussion about that, probably because of her abysmal work at the border and her multiple gaffes. Although he apparently doesn't suffer from dementia, the multiple gaffes and the weird, uncomfortable speeches and talks that she's doing, it's just, people are absolutely disgusted. I'm honestly, you guys know, I have friends on both sides of the aisle, and I have friends that are huge Democratic supporters, and they have even seen some of the things she's done and said, and they're like, this is just uncomfortable. There's no way this woman should be put forth as the next commander-in-chief. So it's going to be interesting, but I think that the most damning thing that's coming out, more so than the documents, and you just hit on it, is the cover-up, which, as we know, the cover-up's always worse than the crime. And the fact that we're now hearing about prior raids, prior documents being found, when the first documents were being found, and then they waited, 3 months to disclose it. All of this stuff, I don't care how you cut it, and I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, Green Party, it doesn't matter. If you find out, and it comes out to light that these were found months ago, but what wasn't disclosed to the American people until now because the midterms were approaching, there's no way you can. The ladies on The View can't even try to reason that, and that's pretty bad. So that's where we're at right now, and I think it's all now setting up for him to not run. He'll probably at some point within the next, I would say, 12 months, give a speech or declare that he will not be running in 2024. That's my prediction.
Yeah, the thing for me when I look at it is that they did cover this up. Like they covered this up, and it was covered up for months and continued. They continue to hide things and not be real truthful about everything that's happened. But because not every single person that works at the FBI is on board with some of this crazy shit that's been going down, things are continuing to leak. So the way I see it, if it was an op, like an op from the beginning to get Joe Biden out of power, I don't think that we would have had this massive of a cover up. And it's clear that everybody was on board with it, or almost everybody's been on board with every aspect of it until now. And certainly the mainstream media has been asking real questions when it comes to this. But I think what more people are actually upset about in terms of why the Democrats are upset with Biden over this is because it makes it very difficult to get Donald Trump on anything with the classified documents, because now they can't push for that. They can't fucking push for any type of mishandling, any type of real punishment, anything that they were trying to do to Donald Trump. They now can't do that because of what happened to Joe Biden. I think that's where a lot of the animosity is coming from, not like it was a setup from the beginning type of thing.
Well, I mean, it's everything that they've tried to pin on Trump has failed. It's every single thing has failed. Every single thing that they've tried to label and put on him. So I do understand your point on that. But I mean, realistically though, man, like we're still like 2 years away from the election. This man is not in good. He's not in good health. I guess health mentally, he's not. In 2 years, he's.
I don't
be
think
in
he's
really
honestly
bad shape.
Jeremy, I don't think he's physically in good health.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
he's really not. But I mean, Trump's not physically in great shape either. But I mentally is where mentally Joe Biden is. He's gone. And again, I know that's pretty obvious. And I know, like, if you go back and look at clips from Joe Biden back in the day, I mean, Joe Biden was really a sharp guy. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
But if you just pull up a clip from 2019, and even then we were talking about how crazy old Uncle Joe was, he's significantly worse now than he was running for president in 2020. So 2 years from now, it's going to be bad. And then you have to expect that he could potentially be president for a following 4 years. So you're talking about 6 more years of this man being the most powerful man in the world. I don't see it. I don't see it even being remotely possible.
Well, did you guys see this? It's been a bad 2 years for Joe Biden. But yesterday, when a reporter asked him a question about what's going on with the COVID emergency, that, all of a sudden they just determined May 11th. That sounds like a good day to say there's no longer a COVID emergency. They must be following the science. I must have told him that. But there was this weird interaction that Biden had. He's just a creep. He's a weird old man. Joe Biden awkwardly grabs reporter's hand and squeezes under umbrella when asked about decision to end a COVID-19 emergency. And just look at this. This is so weird. Yeah, smile, first of all, but...
What's behind your decision to end the COVID emergency? The COVID emergency will end when the Supreme Court ends it. We've extended.
The COVID emergency ends when the Supreme Court ends it.
Good Lord, man.
But like,
I'm surprised you understood that, because I didn't understand that.
It's like he had a stroke. But like, to go up and like just grab her hand.
But the way even he was looking, dude, that looked like a horror movie moment. The way his smile was so weird. Look at that. Like, holy shit.
This dude is nuts.
Is so uncomfortable.
Let's see if he says anything else.
We've extended to May the 15th to make sure we get everything done. That's all. There's nothing behind the wall.
There you go.
Wow.
Good Lord.
Wow.
But yeah, like, this is awkward and weird. This man is the president of the United States. He seemingly has no personal boundaries, especially when it comes to women and getting extremely close to them. And it just continues to get worse and worse each and every day. I hope Joe Biden runs in 2024.
Oh, look,
I
hope he does too. I hope he does too. I just don't think it's happening. I absolutely hope he does, because it's so memeable at this point in time. But man, it's crazy. But again, like I said, if you just look at the fact that whether it's Trump or DeSantis who's the nominee, the Democrats know that they are fighting a losing battle with how bad of a job Joe Biden's done, and the fact that he's Like they can't, like, I think you said this last week or a couple weeks ago, Ryan, but it's like they can't hide him in his fucking basement this time around like they did last time. You know, they hid him in his basement because of the COVID and lockdowns and all that. They can't do that this time. He's actually going to have to be out there and campaign. And I just don't see it. Don't see it.
Can you imagine him on the debate stage in 2 years?
Jeez.
Like it's really, and listen, I'm not trying to be mean or bad about it, but like I can't picture him on a debate stage right now. Every time he hits the podium today, every time he hits the podium, it's just a complete and utter disaster. So can we imagine in 18 months him at a podium on a stage going up against Ron DeSantis? It would be like almost criminal to let him go up on a stage and endure the savagery that DeSantis would like rain down on him. It just wouldn't be right. And I just can't see it. Listen, some people, they don't care. They're wealthy, they're financially independent, they're secure. So they're just so brainwashed. They're like, yeah, another 4 years of Biden. The country's falling apart around them. No eggs, gas prices high, everything, economy crumbling. They don't mind. They just want a Democrat in office. But the majority of people, after 4 years of that level of pain, they're going to start changing their tone. And they're going to start saying, we just can't take this anymore. We absolutely cannot take this anymore. The pain comes around for everyone at some point. We all know that. And I even have friends that are as far left, they're so far left, they're almost coming back around right. And they are even saying, this is out of control. Like, we can't take this anymore. I'm like, oh, well, this is what you wanted. So at some point, the pain overshadows their mental, let me say, their mental blockade and their Trump derangement syndrome, and they just come back and they say, okay, we can't do this anymore. This is horrifying. Our families are suffering. We're suffering. And that's ultimately what's going to happen.
Yeah, the reality is, I think a lot of people, regardless of who's on the ticket, are going to vote because it says D, right? And they're going to vote because it doesn't say R. So we'll see. I do know that if Joe Biden doesn't go, we talked about it earlier, there is no way that it's going to be Kamala Harris. And if it is, then that'll be a good thing, because I can't imagine anyone voting for this woman. They try to hide her as best they possibly can, but it never seems to work. Here's from Town Hall. Only Kamala Harris can make a description of an astronaut's launch seem patronizing.
Two astronauts, right? She's speaking to astronauts.
Yes,
correct?
Yes, exactly.
Not grown men. She's not speaking to children, and she's not speaking to Joe Biden, who it seems like that's who she's talking to. She's actually talking to astronauts.
A room full of grown men and diplomats.
Yeah, and hey, this is what happens when you got women in leadership roles. All right, here we go.
Which brings me to May 30th, 2020. Bob and Doug returned to the Kennedy Space Center. They suited up, they waved to their families, and they rode an elevator up nearly 20 stories. They strapped in to their seats and waited as the tanks beneath them filled with tens of thousands of gallons of fuel. And then they launched. Yeah, they did.
God,
Christ.
I want to punch this woman in the face.
What was funny about they launched? I don't like. I listen. So here's a question. Here's a question we need to seriously ask. What would we be worse with? Joe for another 4 years or her for 4 years? That's the hardest question.
I think her.
I think it'd be worse off with her.
Listen, Joe Biden, regardless if you agree with his politics, he was a respected United States politician for a long fucking time. I mean, he added legitimacy like when Obama, because how many times did he run before? So he ran like multiple times.
But I mean, his 1988 campaign was cut short when he had to admit that he fucking plagiarized his college
Yeah.
thesis.
But yes, I mean, even like when he became Obama's running mate and everything, like he was always a respected politician. He's accomplished things, regardless if you agree or disagree with him. Kamala Harris has never done anything. The most accomplished thing she's ever done is getting annihilated on the debate stage by Tulsi Gabbard. That's the only thing she's accomplished. Notable. That's the only thing people knew her for. She's the definition of identity politics. She exists in this role because she's a woman of color. That's it. That's why she got the position as a VP of the United States of America.
She very specifically, it's because she is not white, and it's because she's a woman, and it's because of some of the things that Joe Biden has supported in his past regarding crime bills. It's because of Joe Biden's comments that he's made towards people in the black community. That's the reason why Kamala Harris was his running mate, to cover for those things. At least in my mind. And here she is.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine for a second declaring, like, I can't imagine walking into the boardroom at 221B Tactical with all the employees there and saying, so there's a new executive position coming up, and this is going to be a high-level position. It's going to have a high-level salary, and it's going to be all these great things. However, I can't pick any of you in this room, because I am going to pick a black female for this position. Doesn't matter. All of your work over the last 7 years here, all of your accomplishments, none of it matters. None of you are getting that position. I'm giving it to a black female. I'll find one. I'll find one out there. Credentials don't matter. Thanks to everyone for coming. Can you imagine that happening in a private company? Every fucking person in that room would file a lawsuit immediately. It would be an HR nightmare. Yet, that's how our vice president was selected. He declared it, and everyone was looking around like, is he for real? And he was for real. Just like everything he said. There's no shock here, right? He said he's going to shut down the pipeline. He said he's going to, push this, green energy thing. Everything he said he was going to do. And listen, whether you like to, admit it or not, the fact of the matter is Trump laid out all the things Joe Biden would do, including get us into World War III. And everything that he outlined has come to fruition, except World War III, but pretty much everything else has come to fruition. So he's doing what he said he was going to do and what he declared he's going to do. So I don't know why anyone is surprised at this point, why the country is in a complete state of disarray and a complete disaster. We're a laughing stock on the world stage. And people are like, I can't believe this is happening. What do you can't believe this is happening? He actually said what he was going to do. He laid it all out, and people still voted for him. So here we go.
Would it surprise you, Suresh, if I told you that the United States is going to side with Germany in World War III?
Well, considering, and I think I read this, but wasn't it true? And I want to verify. But Germany was like, we're absolutely not sending tanks and other artillery to the Ukraine. I think like someone, essentially went to. I don't know where this article is. I'll have to look it up. And they essentially responded by saying, are you crazy? Are you crazy? Then they're probably looking at the fact that we're sending tanks. And now, is it over 100 billion? I think we just crossed over $100 billion. $100 billion. These people from these other countries are looking at us like we are full-blown insane. Like full-blown mental retardation of a degree that no one can quite fathom. And they're like, what are you guys doing? How is this decision being made? Well, we know why. We know why. We know the president and his family's ties to Ukraine. We all know what's truly happening there. So, I mean, hey, once again, is this a surprise to anyone that we've now given $100 billion and now we're sending tanks there? What's next?
Might as well just send them. Just start. Not even send military. Just to start rounding people up in the streets and just shipping them over there. At
Yeah.
this point, like
You've been recruited.
Nonsense.
You've been recruited. We're shipping you off to Ukraine to go fight. But we're taking away your AR-15s.
I saw a meme. I saw a meme where it said, I don't want to get too far into it. It was a meme though. It was showing a picture of Elliot Page. I think that's the name now. Is it Elliot Page? And it said trans men when World War III draft starts, and then it showed Elliot Page turning back into
a girl.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's what happened in Ukraine. You remember, like there was a big outcry because all the leftists who were supporting the intervention, they couldn't believe that Ukrainians were taking trans women and saying, "No, you can't leave the country. You got to fight, buddy." They couldn't believe that progressive bastion of our progressive values, Ukraine, was turning people away. Can't believe that happened. Let me hit some of these super chats. Bruce Flash for $10. Much respect for all the hard work and the variety of amazing content. Well, thank you for supporting.
Thank you,
Bruce. We appreciate it, man.
Hey, that's one thing we take pride in at Geeks and Gamers, and we have so much variety of content. I mean, we cover a lot of shit, man. With
Diversity of content.
That's right, diversity of content.
That's right.
But yeah, I mean, between entertainment, sports, tabletop. I mean, obviously, this by default, this is going to be a Geeks and Gamers show because me and Ryan are part of it. And so, even though it's not a direct branded show, because we don't really dive into politics, but we still represent Geeks and Gamers, always will. And so, yeah, we're really happy with that, and glad you guys are enjoying it. We work our ass off to give you guys a lot of good shit.
That's right. Judicon for 5. Hail Ryan, Jeremy, and Suresh. It's not a raid; it's a permissive search. Funny how they never extended that courtesy to Trump. Yeah, exactly. Yep. Scott McKenzie for 5. What about Trump's tax returns? A nothing burger. And where are the Biden family's returns? Follow the money. I'd love to see Hunter Biden's tax returns.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be interesting. Matthew Hammond for 5. How will they force diversity hire Kamala out as a person of color? Is she more or less likable than Hillary?
God, that's such a hard question to answer. Is she more likable than Hillary? I don't know how to answer that question.
No.
I feel like Hillary's been gone for a couple years and been disappeared. So maybe it's because she hasn't been there. Right now, I'm more annoyed by Kamala.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's a difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
Beastie Man for 2. Trump has a new profile picture on Truth Social.
Damn right he does.
Got an American flag draped across his face.
MAGA baby, let's go.
Here you go.
Humor Waffle says, Jeremy, can you explain what the content house is? Must have missed that explanation stream. So I got into it a little bit Tuesday night's main event last night, probably in the last 30 minutes. I can't remember the exact timestamp. But I'm sure someone could probably timestamp. I kind of talked about someone asked me in a super chat, what it is. Basically, it's Geeks and Gamers headquarters, and I kind of went into it a little more at some point towards the end of that stream. I don't know the exact timestamp.
There you go. Where's the last one? No, ma'am. 81 for $2 says she's not black. Thank you. No, ma'am. 81. Yeah, that's why I just referred to as not white. That's how I refer to Kamala Harris, because I don't know what the fuck her actual heritage is. But it seems to change with however she decides to describe herself in that moment at that particular time. Refresh over here, make sure we're good. Conspiracy theory, bro, for 5. Believe it or not, Harris does not have support among black men. Harris is as polarizing to the black male electorate as Hillary was to the white male electorate. Harris got burnt by Tulsi Gabbard during the Dem debate for weed hypocrisy. She locked a lot of people up. Then she is begging for Brittany Griner to be sent home.
Yep.
Nicholas K for 3. Great content. Jeremy Ryan, you have such chemistry. Not seen this level of chemistry since Frank and Bill on The Last of Us. Jeremy is just one beard full grown away from taking it to the next level.
I thought that was a legit compliment.
That was good.
That was good. Hell
That's
yes. All right. You caught me, man. I was like, that's cool, man. Yeah, me and Ryan do a lot of shows. Fuck, he got us. Damn, that was good.
Gotcha.
Now, since Suresh is here, if you guys don't know, Suresh is a former police officer. We had to talk about some of the body cam footage that we've been seeing. Let's start with the first one, which is a little more memes and a little less serious. We got to start with Paul Pelosi. This is the body cam footage. I don't understand why it took so long to release this. I'm not quite sure. It obviously spawned a million conspiracy theories as to why this wasn't released. But imagine just being a cop, which Suresh can probably easily imagine that, showing up to a random house, and this is what meets you at the door.
So weird. This is so weird.
40. Oh, yeah, it's literally sitting there. Hi, how you doing?
Oh yeah.
What's going on, man?
Everything's good.
Hi. Drop the hammer.
Nope. Hey.
What is going on right
I'm
now?
not getting an answer on call.
What the fuck? It gets weirder every time. Suresh, explain to me what the fuck is happening. Who opened the door? Like, what would you do in this situation? What the hell is going on?
So here's here's the thing. We see the door opening, but no one's opening the door. And like it's so like we don't see either of their hands, right? It's almost like the door is like automatic. Like this is the most bizarre. That's the first thing I noticed. The first thing I noticed is who is opening the door. No one seems like they can answer that. We don't know if there was a third party behind the door. There seems to be blinds and then some kind of weird blue tape, like as if they were painting. But we can't see through the crack. But it's my belief that the door is being opened by someone else, because it's like if you just kind of pull on the door to open it a little bit and then you bring your hand back, the door is going to stop. And here we see the door at a continuous speed, not slowing down, but continuing to open all the way up, as if it
That's
was
a
like,
good point. So go back to when it first. Well, it doesn't show. Does the door? Oh, okay. So yeah, it opens.
There's also
is
a
it mechanical?
ding.
Is it mechanical?
There's
Could
also
it be
we don't know.
mechanical?
There's a ding when it happens, so who knows if that's a security alarm or if it's maybe it's an actual door opener.
I don't know if that's from their body cam. Let's see. Let's play it again.
Hi, how you doing?
No, that was like almost like a squeak.
The ding.
So
To me, here it
weird.
sounds like an electronic ding. Ding.
Hi, how you
Yeah.
doing?
Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
Either way,
Very bizarre.
like this guy, Depape, his left hand, so the one that's on our right, it is down. Like in theory, he could have opened it and then moved his hand. But Paul Pelosi, if you didn't realize, motherfucker's got a drink in the other hand.
He's got a drink. He's got a drink. He's holding a drink.
And
God
just like
knows
Julian from Trailer Park Boys, he holds on to the drink through this entire exchange up to the point of getting cracked in the fucking skull by a hammer. He holds on to his drink.
What
like-
a weird scenario.
I don't. I've responded to some homes and have encountered some really, really odd stuff. And some people are talking about like, why didn't the police officers, once they saw the hammer, why didn't they immediately draw their weapons? Listen, you are going in blind. You literally don't know what's going on. There was a bizarre 911 call. I don't know if you guys listened to the tape, but it's very bizarre how it was explained. So these guys really didn't get a whole lot of information. They were probably told 911 call. Now, what was very odd to me was that they are coming to the address and they're talking about whether they even have the right address. Now, if you're going to a 911 call, and as I'm approaching the door, the one guy is saying 2420 and the other, or 2620, and this guy's saying no, 2640. Like, How do you not know? Like, you're going to a 911 call. When you just gonna just like, oh, like, is this the right house? I'm not. So that's bizarre. You got to have at least confidence that you're at the right freaking house. Now, they were given probably what the dispatch received. 911 receives a call, and then they go and they proceed to the home, and whatever information is given to them from dispatch is all they have. However, it is clear that it just didn't seem like they knew the house that they were going to and like the resident that was there. To me, if I'm getting a 911 call with some strange circumstances and it's the home of the speaker of the house, I'm going to roll up there with a little bit more caution than they were kind of rolling up there. So in the process of 13 years, you get a lot of what are called 911 hangups, where someone calls 911 and they hang up and you don't know what it is. So the dispatch says 911 hang up 123 Main Street, and that's all you got. So you're just going, and 99% of the time they say, oh, sorry, my kid dialed 911 by accident and hung up the phone. No big deal. Okay, everything's okay, fine. But there was that 1% of the time where there was something serious going on. But if you find out that it's a high level person, you got to be a little bit more kind of on guard to say, okay, could this be a hostage situation? Because you don't know. You got to be. These guys were rolling up like it was like no big deal, like it was just a regular house, and they were kind of loose about it. And then the door opens, and you see this odd situation. This man in a nightshirt and boxer briefs holding a drink and one hand on a hammer, and you're like, okay. So now my initial thing is when the door opens and you see a weapon, immediately drop the weapon. Immediately, because just as fast as he went after Paul Pelosi, he could have came after them, and he could have maybe made contact. So as soon as you see that, you have to immediately say, drop the weapon. They didn't. They're kind of like, hey, what's going on here? And then there's like this short struggle with Pelosi's one hand on the hammer where he's like, hey, put that down. Immediately, you got to close the distance, or immediately you draw your weapon. And immediately, if he raises that hammer, you're putting shots on him and taking him down, because he's about to cause serious bodily harm or death. And that is grounds for, whether it's to yourself or to another party, that is, you have the right to use deadly force. So if someone's coming at you with a hammer and it's raised up, you can draw and you can shoot them. However, some people know this, some people don't. If you see someone in a situation and they're about to hit someone else in the head, the hammer, once again, you have the right to use deadly force to stop that from happening. We didn't see that happen here. There was almost like a odd delay in the officers kind of trying to figure out what's going on. They saw the hammer, and then like they're still saying what's going on here. Not okay. That's not okay. Very bizarre how that worked. Now,
but also I would say, like, for me, like when I looked at this, Suresh, if I'm these police officers, I don't know who is who. Both of these guys are holding a hammer. This guy certainly looks older, but he's got a drink in his hands. He seems pretty casual. Like it's like
so weird.
Okay, drop it, but like they both of these guys could be the bad guy you're looking for, or the aggressor in the situation.
Yeah,
at least until a little bit later.
Yeah, you don't know. I mean, you go to home sometimes and there's a male and a female, but the female's holding a knife. And you're like, wait a sec, hold on a sec, and she's holding the knife because she was just she grabbed it for self-defense after she just got like knocked out, so you don't know. But both these people look like they could kind of maybe live there. I don't know how they were not given the information of whose home this was and what was going on. That seems very odd.
And they opened the door. Like the fact that they opened this door together, holding a hammer at the same time, like, you got to imagine what the fuck is going on. Like, is there some like, weird sex shit?
So it's like, if you're an attacker, an aggressor, and you go to this home with this hammer, and the person you have captive says, "Oh, there's a knock on the door. It's the police. Let's go get it." Like, how did that go down? That's pretty much how it looks like it may have had to go down. Like they were in another room and there's a knock on the door. Okay, let's go get the door. Like he allowed him to go get the door, and they clearly knew it was going to be the police because he already called 911. So that was a little bizarre in itself. The other thing is, if there's someone that has even the remote desire to attack me with a hammer, I'm going to have more than one hand loosely on it, and I'm not going to have my second hand on a beverage. I'm going to be holding onto that thing with both hands, and you're going to have to like move my entire body weight in order to raise that hammer. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure you can't get a good swing on that. I don't care how old you are. If he had both hands on that hammer, then the attack that you see clearly would not have happened, but it was a two hands on one situation. The guy's still holding his drink as he's getting hit in the head. It's the most bizarre.
It makes no sense. Like
it makes no sense.
Like if I'm in Paul Pelosi's situation there, as soon as that door opens, we're like, officers, this man just broke into my home. Please come. Like, you know,
I'm running out.
Urgent
I'm running out.
Like, show some urgency. And he's just standing there with a drink. Like, what's up, guys? Want to go party? You know, like it's just so weird.
And it really makes you wonder why this man was fired from NBC for that initial report. That's basically exactly what actually happened. Was that they answered the door together. He didn't seem to make a move for the police. And in fact, at some point, he even went back towards the attacker. Now, of course, that's probably because he was holding the hammer and trying to hold on to the hammer. But the entire thing is so strange. And it's like a freaking movie, especially the way he gets hit, like right just off camera.
Yeah,
you don't actually see him get hit.
Yeah, you never see him get hit. So here's the other thing that's a bit bizarre. The initial official report, if you recall, put out by, was it the Justice Department or the DA or the prosecutor? The official report was a third party opened the door and police entered the residence, and upon entering the residence, encountered Mr. Pelosi and Mr. DePape. That was the official report that was initially put out, not by media. That was the official legal document that was disseminated to the people. So I don't know how we went from that to what we just saw on this video. And no one seems to be questioning that at all.
I think that Paul Pelosi in that initial phone call, I think he really wanted the Capitol Police
to keep it low key,
to keep it very low key, because they've probably handled a bunch of problems for him in a drunken stupor. Like that's probably what he wanted. And then it was like, why would DePape even let him make the phone call? Is weird, but the whole thing's crazy. That is not the only police body cam story that we've had in the last week. We also had one that's much more serious that resulted in the death of someone and resulted in 5 people being charged with various crimes, including murder, and 5 people being dismissed from the police force. And that is the Memphis situation with Tyre Nichols. That body cam footage was pretty rough, especially after they got him up and were just taking turns swinging. Again, it's one of the things I wanted to talk to Suresh about. Somehow, this story has turned into, instead of, wow, look at what these cops did, instead it's a story about white supremacy somehow. This is apparently what CNN sees when they see the 5 people who were charged with murder and who were fired. The police who killed Tyre Nichols were black, but they still might have been driven by racism, opinion by Van Jones. But
of course,
now it's coming out that, interestingly enough, when you demonize the police the way that so many people in the country did during the race riots, during the George Floyd riots, all that stuff, you had a lot of people quitting the police force. A lot of people had to put out different standards to actually hire the appropriate amount of police officers. And in the Memphis situation, this is what we heard. Memphis cops charged in Tyre Nichols' murder were hired after the police department relaxed their job requirements. Again, these guys both joined the police force in August of 2022. More than 2 years after the department dramatically loosened the education qualifications to become an officer. So this whole thing, Suresh, it hasn't lasted as long as I thought. The conversation's almost died off a little bit at this point because even the mainstream media couldn't keep this race hustle going.
Yeah.
But what's your whole take on the way it went down? Where was the point for you that the officers took it too far? And what do you think should be the end result, the end takeaway from all this?
So I said this in the video on my channel and a lot, and over on 221B Tactical on the situation with Suresh YouTube channel, and people, for the most part, I would say 98% of people were like, "Wow." 2% were like, "You're the racist." So when you look at situations like this, you can't just look at what happened on camera. There was a series of decisions that were made that led to these 5 officers being there, how they were all working in this Scorpion unit, which is like an anti-crime undercover car unit, which a lot of cities have. They have officers that are in a more dressed down manner, driving unmarked vehicles, and their sole purpose is to go out there and deter potential crimes from happening. So they're almost like trying to stop the crimes before they happen by, singling out people who might be up to no good and about to do something wrong. So they go in and swoop in and they go grab them. So what we find, though, is some of the officers that were on this unit really had no business being on this unit at all. They didn't have the credentials. They didn't have the background. It was just a series of bad decisions that let them be on this unit. But then you get to the point of their training, and we're now seeing some training records come out, and we're seeing just a pure lack of training, which is another thing that has come forward and we're all seeing. Then you get to the point of the reason for the stop. Well, they said he was driving recklessly or driving erratically, and now we watched we're coming to find out that the police chief said that there was no erratic driving. They just stopped this guy to stop him. There's some stories coming out now that Tyre Nichols was in a relationship with the baby mama of one of the officers. I don't know if that's real. I don't know if that's been confirmed, but that's something that's kind of now leaking out. So they're like, oh, they knew who this guy was, and there was some bad blood there. Not sure if there's any truth to that at all. Once you have someone who is resisting arrest, the things that they utilize, the pepper spray and all that stuff, that's all fine. And what people don't know, and although the optics of it look bad, I've had people resist and I've had people fight. And you're using taser, you're using, pepper spray, whatever. You could do all that stuff, but you could also punch someone. You could punch someone, right? And you could use physical force to, detain them. I don't know how you had, and this is another training breakdown that a lot of people aren't talking about. I think there was 3 or 4 officers there at the car stop location, and somehow this guy got up and ran away. From 4 large men. Okay,
never give up.
There, right there, right. So right there, something is fundamentally wrong when you have 4 men on top of 1 man. They've now broken out a taser, they've broken out pepper spray, and he gets away. He runs away. When I saw that happen, I'm like, hold on, something is very, very wrong here. And then now you see when they find him, they locate him, they stop him, and they, are trying to detain him again, and they're utilizing the same things. Fine. They get him handcuffed. At that point, it's over. The cuffs are on, immediately should be placed in the back of the car. Over. Done. And if they didn't have a vehicle that could do transport, because some of these undercover cars don't have cages in them and they're not meant for prisoner transport, immediately call a marked unit, get a car there for transport. You got 1 in custody. Done. It's over. The second the handcuffs went on him, any kind of physical force of any kind has to immediately cease. Now, there have been some situations where someone who's handcuffed is still spitting or whatever. And in those situations, we've pepper sprayed people. But physical, like punching, kicking while they're down, none of that. That's all horrifically wrong and outright criminal. The other breakdown comes with after the beating that they put on him while handcuffed, which wasn't bad enough, was a lack of requesting medical attention. When you even pepper spray someone, you got to call for an ambulance because they can, potentially have, breathing issues.
You got to get their eyes washed out.
You got to get the eye wash. You got to render them aid immediately once everything calms down. Obviously, if they're still like flailing and kicking and whatever, no. But he was clearly at that point calmed down, and it was more than 10 minutes before they even requested first aid. That's another thing. That's another thing that, whatever you want to call it, training, negligence. That's another thing that's going to absolutely destroy these guys. So there was a whole series of decisions that were made prior to them even pulling him over that allowed them to be in that position where they pull him over. There seems to be very little oversight of this Scorpion unit, but then the series of decisions that they made following the interaction with him that just led to an avalanche of horrific endings. To me, and I said this in the video, in my time, 13 years, I 100% hands down saw more negative treatment toward people of color by officers of color than white officers. Not even close. It wasn't even close. Not even remotely close. There was always this thing in the back of my mind that made me think that officers of color felt like they had a little bit more liberty to be harsher in any way, shape, or form with people of color than anyone else. And I don't know why that was, but it was something I saw all the time. And let me tell you, this is something that I saw multiple white officers come to me and ask me about. They're like, why is it that like black cops are harder on, the black, suspects and the black detainees? Why are they so rough on them? They talk to them like crap. They're more physical with them. Like, why is that? I don't want to say never, but you hardly saw that when they were detaining and arresting, white suspects and white criminals. But when it came to someone who was black, man, they were brutal. Not all, but a lot of them I noticed were. And so when I saw this first happen, I heard this first break, and I heard it was a savage beating that 3 days later led to his death. I hadn't even seen the photos of the officers yet. I knew they were black. I knew they were black. I knew it. And then I saw the photos, and of course they were. So I can say this based on the position I'm in now, but I know I can't tell you how many white officers I've now spoken to since this story broke and have reached out to me via text or whatever and have said, hey, I saw what you said in the video and you're right. I see the same thing. Now, some officers are working side by side in their same agency with other officers of color. Some officers have no officers of color that they work with, but they interact with officers of color from, neighboring agencies. But the story still remains the same. And they've said it to me. They can't say it because of their skin color, but I can. And I have a handful of black officers that I'm friendly with, that I've trained with, that I've known. I have good relationships over the years. And they've reached out to me after seeing the video and they've said, you're right. You are right. And I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to be bad about it, but when I speak something and it's a truth, and not only is it a truth based on what I have seen, but now you have white and black officers alike coming to me and saying, yeah, we kind of noticed that too. You're right. We can't really say it out loud because we'll get killed. So the problem we have had up until now is that this has been going on, guys. Unfortunately, this guy lost his life, but this has been going on. I've seen other agency situations where black officers beat the shit out of some black suspect and nothing ever transpired. Nothing happened. There was no lawsuit. There was no story. There was no nothing. What was it? What was the guy?
They didn't think they could get paid by a Ben Crump showing up and complaining about racism.
there was no money in it. There was no story in it. They know, you're a black drug dealer or some black gangbanger, and you got beat up by a black cop. No one cares. No one's going to say anything. No one did anything. This has been, I can't even tell you the stories I know about similar, obviously not to this degree, but situations like that. It's been happening, and people see it. White officers see it, and they're just like, oh God, this is uncomfortable. And what do? There's nothing they could do, and they know there's going to be no lawsuit. There's no follow-up, nothing. So, but on top of that, not only has the media not been reporting on that, what we've seen over the last few years has been an extensive magnifying glass on when white officers shoot unarmed black men. But the question I posed in my video was, has anyone ever talked about, or does anyone know the name of a black victim, unarmed, that was shot and killed by a black officer? And the answer is no one even knows the names. You know how many there have been in just the last 3 years alone? Unarmed black men shot and killed by black officers? But not a single person in America knows a single name of one of those victims. Everyone knows the name George Floyd.
There's been a lot of white people shot by the cops too. Almost nobody knows their names.
Wait, percentage-wise, way more. Percentage-wise, way more. But no one wants to talk about that. But when you just talk about if the shooting and the killing of unarmed black men by the police in general was the important factor here and the true concern here, we would know the names of all of these victims. But we only know the names of the ones that were shot by a white cop. And that right there will tell you 1,000% what's really going on here. And there's a reason why we don't know the names of these people who were shot by black cops. Killed, in some cases. Killed. Never a peep. And that right there tells you what's going on, what the agenda is, what the narrative is. I'm shocked that this became a story, probably because of him dying at the hands of these officers.
And you couldn't, but the video, you couldn't tell they were all black when the video came out. So that started getting a lot of traction on social media. A lot of people started being fake offended and fake outraged. And it's just like anything else. It's like when you have a mass shooting, you have all these leftists on Twitter just waiting for the race of the person, the mainstream media waiting. And then, of course, you hear about the mass shooting, you hear about this horrible situation. And then if it turns out to be a white guy, oh, wow. And then if they can find any Trump ties, then it becomes the biggest story ever. But if it's a non-white dude, then suddenly
if it's an old Asian man that shoots a bunch of other Asian people in California, whatever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And so that's how I feel this, because I didn't know it was a bunch of black guys beating him up when I responded to it. I was just like, this is fucking horrible, because it is a horrible video. It's terrible. I mean, it looks like a gang initiation or a gang beating is what it looks like. It does not look like police officers at all. That was bad. And then you started seeing it's like, then I started seeing the articles like, oh, this is still based in white supremacy. Everyone's like, oh my God. Like they couldn't,
they couldn't, the race baiters like Van Jones and things like that. They couldn't avoid turning this into a race thing. Now we could all imagine if these officers were white, what would be happening right now. The house you're sitting in would be on fire right now. So we all know that, right? There'd be looting, destruction, whatever. But we're not going to see that level here because of the race of the officers. We know that. And there were some people who were outright upset that this was done by black officers, because if it was done by white officers, there'd be, more that they can do, and more anger and outrage and fake anger that they could put forth. But what we know is there's a shift occurring. And I think there's a reason why we're hearing this story. And, Ryan, like you said, this story is already fading. It's already fading. It's already fading out. People, it's like on page 3 of the news feed right now. So it's already fading out. We all know that if these were 5 white officers, this would be the lead for weeks and months and maybe even years. So there's a reason for that. It's just disgusting but I think it came to the forefront for a little bit of a minute, because he ended up dying. If it was just a savage beating like the Rodney King thing, I truly don't think we'd be talking about this right now. We probably would not know the name Tyre Nichols.
And I think that at the end of the day, this actually does more damage to their cause, because the fact that they try to get everybody so incensed about this, the fact that they try to push these narratives that really this entire thing is just about white supremacy, when most people, when the average person sees that, they see 5 black men killing a black man, but you somehow are making the story about white supremacy, that doesn't sit well with them. And I think it just does damage their overall narrative.
And Ryan, now keep in mind, you have a heavy black demographic within this police agency. You have a black female police chief, and you have a predominantly black city council. So everything about this story revolves around people of color in powerful positions. Yeah. So for anyone to say that this is rooted in white supremacy, well, or that the system, the systemic, well, the system's all black there. And where is any white person involved here? You know, a lot
sounds
of
a lot like the Freddie Gray situation, to be honest with you. There were some black officers involved in that. There was a predominantly black city council as well. Like, you know, like all the same things with the Baltimore story. And it ends up just getting used for racial purposes. But I'm glad we had you on, Suresh, because of your experience to like be able to talk about that from a cost point of view. But we appreciate you guys being with us. Got a couple more super chats here. Samurai Vader for 2. I like the part where he says hammer time. It's true. He just needed some parachute pants. Neo Unrealist for 2. What's up, man? Says one of the demons Pelosi had an exorcism for. Maybe. Straight Shooter for 5. This is also a highly affluent area where crime reports are like mailbox destroyed at 123 Main Street, toilet seat stolen, police have nothing to go on. Yeah, I'm sure they weren't expecting that when they showed up. There's no doubt about that. And then Conspiracy Theory Bro for $3. Word on the street is Tyre Nichols was targeted because one of the officers and him were involved with the same lady. This has not yet been confirmed. What I understand, it was a traffic violation that he refused to stop for. And obviously, when asked to get out of the car, he didn't. When asked to surrender, he didn't. When trying to put him on arrest, he didn't. Over and over and over and over again. And he eventually ran. And like, from one perspective, listen, if I'm fucking running all through the streets trying to find this guy, if this guy resisted arrest, if he fucking fought back or whatever, yeah, I'm frustrated. Yeah, I'm pissed, especially if one of my dumb fucking retarded partners decides that the best thing to do in the middle of a crowd of 5 people is to pepper spray everyone. You know, like, yeah, you can get how these guys are like upset. But once the cuffs are on, that's that. Bottom line.
Yeah.
So, but thank you guys for hanging out with us today. We're going to, close it up here a little over the hour mark. Jeremy, what do we got going on for Geeks and Gamers today?
Fortnite tonight on the main channel. Looking forward to that. This will be the first official Wednesday stream. That'll happen every week on the main channel now. And, we moved Mario Kart to Monday nights to change up the schedule. And then we'll be ready for Friday Night Tights on Nerdrotics channel. Everything's rocking and rolling. And looking forward to giving you guys more awesome content from the Geeks and Gamers headquarters here in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, yeah. And Suresh, what do you got going on with the situation with Suresh?
Oh man, I can't thank you guys enough. That channel is growing every single day. The YouTube channel at the situation with Suresh. Same thing with the TikTok, which is helping feed the YouTube channel. But I know a lot of it is credit to you guys and helping promote it. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, just kind of continuing to bring the stories out and bring my viewpoints. Obviously, the background that I have helps shed some light on a lot of these stories that the average citizen doesn't know. So I've been trying to bring these stories to light and do some decent reporting on that. And it's been great. I love it. Obviously the 221B channel is still growing strong. We're focusing on the product stuff there. And we got some exciting couple of things in store for Geeks and Gamers over there too. So stay tuned for that. There may be some new product and some new merch dropping on the Geeks and Gamers front there. So excited about that. And yeah, just pushing forward, man. There's a lot going on. There's definitely no shortage of craziness to talk about with this current administration and current state of the country. So I'm loving this unnamed talking This is great. I love it.
Unnamed stream, whatever the fuck this thing is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
heard that. Hey, and I know Suresh has got some traveling coming up, but we got to get him on Tuesday night's main event. So we got.
Yes, I listen. I stopped asking. I stopped asking.
No,
I
it's
stopped
gonna.
asking.
Like, if you're free this Tuesday, let's do it. I don't know if you're home though.
I'll be back.
Let me
Yeah, I'll
know.
be back.
Then
Okay.
then book it. I'll tell Krista to book it. You're on for next Tuesday. Boom. There you
Let's
go.
do it. Let's do it.
Let's go. All right. So Suresh will be on Tuesday night's main event.
Wait, hold on.
next week.
Ryan, what do you have going on? What's new and coming forth from Ryan at RK Outpost? What do you got going on, man?
A fucking bunch of videos and shit. Same thing I do every day. Here, my channel, Sports Wars, all that good stuff. So yeah, the people know I put out all this shit. I don't need any preparation. I don't need any hype. I just put it out and they click on it. So whatever.
There you go.
That's it.
There you
That's
go.
it.
But we do appreciate you guys being here. Thanks to all the people over on Rumble as well. We'll talk to you next week, same time over on D-Day Cobra.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Talk to you later. Peace.
See you later.